Welcome to 2A Cops, Cops Supporting Gun Rights. Our hosts, Keith and Matt, have over 50 years combined experience as police officers serving in California. In this podcast, we'll talk about all things related to the Second Amendment from a cop's perspective and dispel the myth that cops are for over-the-top gun control. Welcome to 2A Cops, Cops Supporting Gun Rights. My name's Keith. I am the co-host with Matt. Matt's going to introduce himself here in a second, but so in this podcast episode, we just want to introduce ourselves to let you know who 2A Cops is and why we're representing most cops in their views about gun control and gun rights. So I was a police officer for 30 years. I was in Northern California, specifically in the East Bay. My jury pool consisted of residents from Oakland and Berkeley, to give you an idea of where I came from. And I spent most of my time working narcotics. I worked half my career on the street as a street cop and half my career working narcotics and other specialized assignments. I was on SWAT for 20 years, and being in the heart of enemy territory known as California, I saw lots of gun control and I saw how it didn't work. So just to give you an idea of where I'm from, but Matt, why don't you tell them about yourself?
This is Matt, and my background, I did 22 years as a deputy sheriff of Sacramento County in California. Most of that time was in patrol. I was a court-recognized firearms expert, testified on some firearm stuff in court, responded to countless shootings over my career. Lots of the incidents I responded to were where citizens had used guns for self-protection. I was personally involved in 2 different shootings. During my career, I lost 9 coworkers, and 5 of them were to criminals with guns. People often ask, how can I be pro-gun and be a cop, especially if I've lost coworkers, and it's because I realize that it's not it's not the citizens that are out there shooting my partners. It's actually criminals who were prohibited persons in every single instance. I started writing about guns about 7 years ago. I had a couple articles in print magazines, wrote for a couple of different blogs. What got me to start 2A Cops was while writing for the blogs, there was a persistent narrative that a lot of gun owners fell victim to or bought into, which was the fact that cops are out there and they want to take your gun. So 22 years on a department with 1,800 full-time deputies. In that entire time, I had one coworker who was pro-gun control. That was it. That narrative that cops are out there and that they're going to take your guns and that they want more gun control, that's politicians that are trying to push gun control. That's them saying the cops are going to go out there and do it. It's not the cops saying that. And unfortunately, the cops don't have a voice, which is why we started 2A Cops.
And that's a big part of it. I mean, it's like the military. You don't want the military going out and saying anything bad about the leadership. You just want them to go out and, do their job. And, with the police department, it's the same thing. You really don't want guys going out there and, bad mouthing our government. But on the same hand, they may not be able to talk, but we're retired and we can talk.
Right.
And we can speak for them.
Exactly. The guys that are on the job, they're risking a career by saying something that if they disagree with their department head or one of their chiefs or whatever. So they don't really have the voice. They don't. I know it was a nice thing when I retired. I actually got my First Amendment rights back.
Wasn't that cool?
Yeah.
And the other thing, what Matt isn't saying, between the two of us, we have hundreds of thousands of social media followers on a few different pages. In fact, you can follow us on the one that we're out and about on, 2A Cops on social media. It's just at 2A Cops. Part of being into social media on the law enforcement side is we talk to cops every single day from all over the country, and we know exactly what they're thinking. As for me, I've trained and Matt's the same thing. We've trained thousands of cops, all over the country, and talking to them, we know exactly what they're thinking and what they're saying, so we feel comfortable speaking for them.
Correct. 100% correct.
If you can subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, we'd really appreciate it. You can find more information on 2A issues from a cop's perspective on our blog, 2acops.com. You can also sign up for our newsletter on 2acops.com, and you can also see the show notes in our blog as well. If you have any questions that you want answered in regards to a cop's perspective on 2A issues, you can contact us at podcast@2acops.com. Thank you. Stay safe. Have a great week. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to and rate 2A Cops on your favorite podcast service. You can subscribe to our newsletter and get current 2A news at 2acops.com. If you have any questions you want answered on the podcast, email us at podcast@2acops.com.